Welcome to Little Lunch Online number 10. I'm Bong Ramilo, coming to you from Larakia country, or Darwin as it is also known. Today I'll have my colleagues from Darwin World Mix with me, but before that I need to do the housekeeping. I've posted the housekeeping notes in chat, so please have a look, but I'll read out those housekeeping items. It's Easter this weekend, so we won't be having lunches on Friday the 10th and Monday the 13th. This session is being recorded and will be streamed live and available for viewing afterwards. Just read the URL there in chat. Next, we will be sticking to the 30-minute time frame because of signing and captioners. Please introduce yourselves in the Zoom chat and say whose country you are on today. There is live captioning available if people click on the captions icon on Zoom. There is also live signing from Linda at Ostland, stage left, and people participating that way just need to click on Susan's video and pin it. If you want to ask a question, please type it in the Zoom chat and put your hand up using the hand up button. And please keep your mics muted unless you are speaking. Any technical problems or feedback, please email contact@artsfront.com. And with that, just want to thank Feral Arts and Little Lunch Online for having us. Today we'll be talking about, our efforts up here at trying to explore the sound and music of multicultural Darwin. At least Darwin is unique, I guess, in that we're all mixed up here. You cannot escape multiculturalism or cultural diversity wherever you go, and we wish to capture that in the music that we make and share. We have a project called Darwin World Mix. It's been going on for some years now. And we want to talk about the joys and the challenges of collaborating across cultures, and especially now during this pandemic. We want to talk about those issues because while the loss of gigs is very important and it has affected us, we have lost gigs, and it's affected our members, some of whom do make a living as musicians. As important is the loss of opportunities for building community, for maintaining our community of musicians and artists, along with the communities we belong to, and the opportunities to work together closely, because we've had many challenges, and we have decided that to make better music or make appropriate music, we need to be in the same space as playing together as much as possible, and that's difficult right now. So I'll ask Alan Murphy, one of my colleagues, to play you a clip of one of our performances last August at Darwin Festival, so you have an idea what we do. So okay. Alan, yep, Alan's in Hamtidu.
Can you see that?
We are seeing your screen, not the video yet. We're still seeing your screen.
I had it all here, but it's for some reason it's not coming up. Seeing that?
Yep. Can you play it, please?
Hearing that?
Yep. So that is what we do. That was um, Ringo, a Japanese popular tune that you guys can talk about later. So as you can see, we try and um, I guess combine different musical styles and traditions in there. And as you can see, our bass player Brendan was multitasking, checking his text or email while playing bass in the middle of a gig. So now I'll ask my colleagues to talk for a few minutes each before we have a discussion, an open discussion. So should, we'll get Yuka Fukusaki first to say if tell some stories. Yuka.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm here in Darwin right now. I'm from Japan, and I have been in Darwin for about 3 years. And I'm really enjoying this cultural community here, which it's really like very close to each other, especially the pandemic right now. I can feel more connection actually, and feeling more caring, and feeling more love and sharing could feel in this community very much. And about this music that we have done is actually about, Alan will might talk later on about this music, but one day he just like ring me a call and then, hey Yuka, I'm on this project right now about the something Darwin, about this world kind of mixture music going on. Do you want to come into my studio and have any ideas about these music? And okay, sure, let's I'll pop in. And then I just jump into the studio, listen to this soundtrack, and there's something about Darwin, about multicultural thing. There's a Filipino group, Jamaican group, Japanese group, Thailand group, US group. There's like lots of culture that's respecting. And what's about Japan, I was thinking. And one tune popped up in my mind was this Ringo Oiwake, which is a very, very old traditional songs sang by Hibari Misora. And the tune is about, this tune is made in like 1952. And the lyrics is about, from the apple tree kind of blossom is floating, and you can see it as through the moonlight shining with the petal of this blossom. That is kind of a tears that letting go and saying goodbye, and that's the kind of lyrics about the describing about the sadness and the beauty of like a letting go as well. So that was the tune that I popped it in my mind, and originally it's really sung very, very slow, but it was interesting how Alan and Bonsan, everyone made it together as a danceable music that it kind of combines all the cultures together. So it's really kind of interesting experience for me that to share the ideas here. Hmm.
Thank you, Yuka-san.
Thank you.
We'll hear from Yuka-san a bit later. Now, let's hear from Aswan, our percussionist and DJ.
Hi, everybody. Greetings and respect. As Bong said, I'm Aswan. I'm from Jamaica. I've been in Australia since 1986, and I've always been involved in multicultural music right across the country, workshop programs for kids at risk, indigenous children. But my passion was always been cultural music, mixing and blending different type of music together. And Australia is a perfect example of a multicultural society, even though we're still not living perfectly together. But the cultural music and art forms are very strong here, and I will permanently support that. I'm a dub poet. What we call in Jamaica a dub poet is a poet that puts music, the words to music. So my future is to put more poetry to music with different type of cultural music. That's all from me for now.
Thank you, Aswan. Now let's hear
Thank you.
from Alan Murphy.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? My name's Alan Murphy. I've lived in Australia since 1985, and I've lived in Darwin since 87. I guess at the roots of my cultural experience in Darwin has been traditional Aboriginal culture, in the sense that we are surrounded by it. You know, we're talking from Larrakia country at the moment, but we're also surrounded by all the many clans from north, south, north and east and west Arnhem, which was probably my first real cultural connection, if you want to call it that. In later years, working as a musician in Darwin, you can't, like what Yuka was saying, you can't but observe the international population that has lived here for a very long time. And up until relatively recently, there's been so many artists and musicians that I weren't even aware lived here. People kind of have their separate lives and carried on and did their thing. And it's only till recently that I've really begun to realize how much of a cultural music scene there really is, and how much people really want to integrate and to get creative together. So I started working with Darwin Community Arts on what is called the Harmony Soiree, which had been going for a number of years. And that involved, how many groups was that? Over 25 different multicultural groups that live in Darwin, in the Darwin region. And an offshoot of that became what we're calling this world mix concept, where we're trying to create something that not only is just a collection of songs, but just the whole work in progress idea that we're going through the process of cultural integration, if you want to call it that. If we all have our influences, and I think the very nature of living in Darwin, if you're an artist or a musician, is being open to the influences that are around you. I think that's largely what has attracted many people to come to this part of Australia, because you're immersed in culture. For me, in the first instance, it's Yolngu Aboriginal culture. I think that's where we are. That is the host, if you will. And on top of that, you have, there's such a large, there's too many to mention, but I mean, the African community here is very diverse and very large. We have the Chinese community, the Asian community, and it's all starting to mix up, and people are starting to talk to each other and create a bit more, I think, in recent years. So, I mean, that's really what we're attempting to do. We're trying to push the envelope. It's been great to work with Bong and Yuka, Aswan, and the rest of the group, and looking forward to carrying on, doing a lot more.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, Alan. Now we'll chat. So if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead. No? I'm sure you would want to say something. Yes.
Hey, Bong. We were just wondering a bit about this role of technology during isolation and what we might be able to do to better support collaboration and creation that you guys are doing. How can we keep that creative process going during this time, and what would it look like after this isolation period is finished?
we've been having discussions with that. We had a good discussion yesterday because we were going to do videos to promote our CD. Our, we have a CD. Sorry, I'll just get a copy so I can show you. But the pandemic got in the way. So Alan can talk more about how we've been trying to grapple with the technology so we can keep collaborating and working together while we are distance.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's for me personally, it's made me have to come to terms with how much work I need to do. Like prior to the pandemic, we were even debating about the notion of making a CD in the first place. I said, well, we're really going to make CDs? Is this how we're going to? Is this the most effective way to do things these days? And we haven't launched online yet. We haven't done an online distribution. We have some online distribution, but we haven't actually pursued that over the last 3 or 4 weeks due to all this other stuff we're trying to figure out. So, I mean, for me, over the last couple of weeks, I've been spending a lot of time just trying to get organized, and I know all of us individually have talked with each other about doing Project Aswan, and I have talked about doing some projects where we can, just basically keep the creative juices going. We don't want to be creative distancing. The social distancing is kind of mandatory, but the creative distance, we don't want to have a situation where those two are working together. We want to make sure that the creative distancing is not happening at all. So what I'm doing is I'm spending a lot of time lately just writing. I'm going to be sending files to Bong and to Yuka and Aswan and the rest of the group, and we're just going to try to really kickstart the collaboration more than we have before. I mean, it's just made us put more emphasis on that, really.
Thank you. Melissa has a question. Are you finding that the audiences are now more global? How is that working? Maybe Yuka-san, Aswan, and Alan might want to say something about that. Can I say something about that? Yeah, I think the audiences have been potentially global for decades now with the internet. But I'm finding with all these live streams that I've been following in at least 2 countries, a lot of the performers are still streaming to their local or national audiences. I'm involved in a project that streams to Southeast Asia because I'm in a network of Southeast Asian artists. So we deliberately program our streams, knowing that we have a multilingual viewership, and which isn't the same for a lot of Filipino streams I've seen. They know they are targeting Filipino audiences. So, but that's not a new problem. Sometimes we forget with the internet, the world is there for us to engage with.
Yeah, thank you, Bong. Nice to see you too. Yeah, I'm just interested because I too have a couple of connections, so it keeps me tapped into India, but I haven't seen a portal yet or somewhere that's broadcasting so we can happen across these performances. I'm thinking we're a bit behind.
Yes, I think so too. So that might be a good project we should talk about, is how do we aggregate or how do we focus and concentrate the global responses to the pandemic, especially what do we do after this?
Yes, thank you.
There is another question from Elliot. Is time an important factor in creating and collaborating together online? Is real time important, or does musical collaboration happen more as 1 or 2 artists working on little bits at a time? If I can, I'll just briefly say something. With music, because music is time driven, it's time dependent, it's not easy to do things online, especially when you include video. There are maybe 3 platforms available who claim that they can deal with internet latency or lag. It's really difficult. For audio, there's Ninjam, which is supposedly better at dealing with latency for live playing. I think a lot of musical work has not been synchronous. It's asynchronous, so it's not in real time because it's really difficult to deal with it with the internet as it is now. So virtual choirs and virtual bands do their stuff. The players contribute separate performances, which are then assembled. So that might be the best we can do for now.
You mean pre-recorded? Is that what you're saying? Like, you talking about pre-recording as opposed to live? Sorry, I was just.
Yes, a lot of the virtual choir and virtual band stuff I'm seeing is really just assembling pre-recorded clips or contributions rather than live. I have tried a few times in the last 2 weeks to do live things. Zoom is not possible using Zoom or Jitsi or the other video conferencing platforms. But of course, I mean, if you want to be postmodern or avant-garde, it's all right. Never mind time and sync. But I'm a bit old-fashioned. I still like people playing in time. Sorry, another question. Can you also talk a little?
Pilar has a question.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, Bong and everyone. Great to see you have come this just recently. Bong, do you think it's maybe a matter of time as we sort of grapple with the shock and trying to organize ourselves with this pandemic, then, you know, it looks like this is, you know, this is a new reality for a while. Do you think that the creative process might change and settle and in terms of trying to create new forms whilst we are in this pandemic, and then what's next? I think that is a really important question, because how do we organize ourselves after? Yeah, it's a common question, really.
Yes. We will be in this situation for 6 months or longer, according to our governments. In other countries, it might be even longer. So this isolation or distancing will change, of course, the way we work. And I'm still grappling with that. My colleagues are still grappling with that. How do you work in an area of work called community arts and cultural development, for example, or community-based music, where gatherings, the notion of and practice of gathering is the heart of what we do, is the foundation of all we do. How do we do that without proximity, about being proximal, being in the same space and gathering? Yes, we have Zoom and Jitsi, and we have virtual gatherings. Um, they're not inferior or superior, they're just different. So we can do that, but we will have to discover new ways of doing things together, I think. And well, this is not new. I mean, when the internet, when the web thingo emerged and became popular, people were exploring different ways of doing things. The key is not to think that we just use whatever tools and facilities we have to keep doing old things. We have to look for new things.
Bong, would you mind just sharing a little bit of the plans you have at Darwin Community Arts about your program and the idea of life, no art on a dead planet? Because I think one of the kind of key questions for us is how to keep the climate conversation and connection to this work as we kind of grapple with the COVID-19 work.
Yes, of course, the pandemic has sort of waylaid us a bit from our focus there. We are actively still looking for and expressing the links between the climate crisis and this pandemic, and some commentators have pointed to, for example, the pandemic might be, some of the origins of it might be linked to climate change. Of course, if you wreck environments, then it will have an impact on us in different ways. But we had specific plans on how to deal with the climate emergency, which we now will have to adjust. For example, these student strikes will not be possible for a while. We were supporting them, but those have been suspended, for example. So what mass actions or people's actions could we support? Because the climate emergency will still be there after this pandemic, unless, of course, I don't know how bad it will be, but being optimistic, we will come out of this still around. So we still need to deal with the climate emergency and other issues of social justice and gender justice and all of the other justices. So we're still trying to, I mean, how do we do this while we're in isolation? So that's a big question. And it can't all be internet-based because not all communities have access to the internet. So these are questions we're still. Sorry, we have a minute to go. Sorry for talking too much, but my colleagues might want to say something. No? Any more questions? We have a few seconds left.
Nice to see you all. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. And with that, thank you very much. With that, we say stay well, stay healthy. And this is Darwin Community Arts and Darwin World Mix saying bye-bye from Larakia country. Thank you.
Respect.
Bye.